All right, yellow buckeye. We skip through this, so I'll do it real quick. Remember, palmately compound leaflets, 5 leaflets. When you look at the buds, they are fairly large, but they're dull brown and not resinous. When we looked at horse chestnut, remember they were shiny brown and resinous. They were sticky. Remember, it had 7 leaflets. This is buckeye. It's got 5, no resin. All right. Also, the covering on the fruit, on horse chestnut, the covering on the fruit has some spikes and stuff on it. This is smooth. Okay, this is smooth.
So is horse chestnut stuff I used to eat out of the backyard?
Maybe. No, that's probably plain chestnut. No, that's plain chestnut. All right. Now look, that in there, maybe you can tell the difference. Okay.
This is the umbrella magnolia.
Like we mentioned, some of these are labeled. So this is umbrella magnolia, magnolia tripetala, and we talked about this in class.
Big old leaves.
Big old leaves, yes, for sure. But the other thing with this is the fruit.
Bundles.
All right, this is a fruit of the magnolia, and as I mentioned, with several different species of magnolia, but the fruits are all pretty similar. All right, so this is that aggregate of follicles. You can see these things are split open, and you can see the seeds here are still attached by those little strings. All right, some of them have become detached, but some of them are still attached as well. So this is what it looks like. And actually, if you look at this closely, you can see here at the bottom where the floral parts, the flowers, the petals and sepals used to be attached when this thing was still in floral stage. But most all of your Magnoliaceae, Magnolia genus stuff that we looked at looks like this. Magnolia genus. All right. They may have different color seeds. They may be bigger. They may be smaller. But for the most part, they all look pretty similar. All right. The other thing you mentioned, if you remember when we talked about magnolia, we talked about the buds being pretty distinctive. You can see this one's got fairly large, sharp, greenish, purplish buds.
This next year's
that's next year's growth. Yes. Yep. Even the terminal buds are fairly large.
Hey, so what's these bundles coming out of? Yeah. Okay, I see them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You want y'all pass this around if you want to see what it looks like.
Man, they shoot straight up like that?
Yeah,
they are.
Cool. They're erect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, they grow upward.
So like when they're ready to like replant, they just fall off on each
Yep, those things fall off, and that's the seed.
Neato.
Dude, that's like a thread right there.
Yeah. You can see kind of where they hold on there.
Yeah, that's screwed up.
You don't want to take a look at it, pass it around.
What is he doing over there?
It's either bees, or I'm covering up a sign up so you can take a quiz on it.
Blue ash.
Yeah, this is blue ash. This is not something we see particularly commonly.
I've never heard of that.
But it's pretty interesting. If you look at it, it's Fraxinus quadrangula. Quadrangula. What's quad mean? Four. If you look at the twigs, especially some of the side ones, they look like squares. Right?
Yeah.
They've got wings on them that makes them look like squares. As they get a little bigger, it's not quite as noticeable, but especially on the smaller ones, you can see.
What are you looking at?
It's got 4 veins right there. See
oh, yeah, okay.
Looks like a square.
That's pretty cool.
So that's where the quadrangula comes from. Blue beech. It's not on your list.
What is this? The blue what?
Blue ash. I said beech. Blue ash. I'm sorry.
Man, is there any mushrooms growing in this?
I don't think so.
You know, I've went mushroom hunting like 400
Fraxinus
times.
quadrangula. All right, what's this one? It's down in there. This is ginkgo. This is actually...
Man, this is going to be the easiest one. Is this easiest scientific name, ain't it?
No, this is actually a gymnosperm. This thing's very primitive. This
Naked seeds, man.
Ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo biloba. And you can see where the name biloba comes from because if you look at the leaves,
2 lobes.
it's got 2 lobes. It's got 2 sides.
Neato.
Now these are gymnosperms. They're actually dioecious. All right. And these are commonly planted for street trees, ornamental trees, and things of that nature, but they always want the males for the ornamentals. They want the males because once the females, the fruit, it stinks. Right? It stinks, so it's not very desirable. Now, people will use it. This is native to Asia. It's not native to here. And in Asia, you can find the fruits of these things, and they're sold under the name of, I think it's silver almonds. Something like silver almonds, silver something nuts. All right, but they're actually ginkgo seeds. All right? But very primitive, commonly used in ornamental. You can see these all over the place as they're planted, but they're not usually out in.
How do you spell ginkgo?
G-I-N-G-K-O.
Bamboo over there.
King.
Yes, and as Beebe has pointed out, right here behind us, this stuff right here. What is this, Beebe? This is bamboo.
I need to get a bamboo forest.
That is bamboo.
A bamboo forest?
All right.
Yeah, I'll get a bunch of little pandas and release them at my property.
Yeah.
Bamboo is a monocot.
We'll go find
Right,
some.
bamboo's a monocot.
Hunt the pandas?
No, this won't be on a test, but it's worth showing you. This is a noxious, invasive type weed.
I'm going to get a
All right.
bamboo forest
It's
on my
been planted.
property.
Once you
Release
get
some pandas
started,
in there and then...
There ain't nobody can hear on the thing if you're talking. Especially when you're right beside us, Jake talking. So we got to be able to hear on the video, or there's no point in doing them. All right, bamboo is planted as ornamental, and then once it does, it kind of does this. It escapes. All right, and it just keeps growing. And it grows, but it actually spreads by rhizomes. So in order to get rid of it, you have to cut it out and dig it up. It's very, very difficult to get rid of. Nothing here really eats it.
What's the roots like?
They have rhizomes and they kind of grow. They spread drastically. It's pretty interesting the way it grows because it grows very, very rapidly at first. It's a monocot, so it grows very, very rapidly at first, and it's done. All right, but you'll see these. I've heard people talk about them growing like 6 inches or a foot a day when they start coming in the springtime. But then once they're done, they're done.
Dang weed. Should introduce some panda bears.
Yeah, there we go. Panda bears. That is what these are. Keep in mind the stuff is hollow. All right, so you got to be careful. Apparently, it's fairly entertaining. If you take some of this and throw it in fire, it will blow up.
What?
Because it's hollow in between those inner nodes. You can kind of see them there. And as that heats up, it expands and pop, it'll blow up.
Damn.
So, but this is the bamboo that they use to make bamboo fishing poles. And we were in class today, and somebody mentioned a bamboo baseball bat, bamboo,
Gilly's like,
other things. So, but this is the bamboo that they use. It's Phyllostachus. Phyllostachus is the genus. You're just not gonna be on a quiz or anything. Can I take a piece back, Lewis? Make a cane pole out of it? Sure, if you can get it broke off, knock yourself out.
That's what I'm trying to do, but y'all might want to stand clear because this branch is right here.
All right, while they're working on that, let's look at this tree right here. Anybody know what this is? This
Kentucky coffee tree.
One of the more interesting. This is Kentucky coffee tree. Gymnocladus dioicus. Gymnocladus dioicus. I don't think it's one of your lists.
What you gotta wear, Conlon? Daggone.
Gymnocladus dioicus in the Caesalpinaceae family. This is native to West Virginia. This is also a legume. And this one can have extremely large leaves. This is spelled wrong.
That's a good question.
Dioicus, not dioica.
Jeff, that was a good question.
What's that?
If it's native to West Virginia, why is it Kentucky?
Well, there's stuff that's native here that's native there too.
Okay. I thought you meant it was like
this
found
thing
in
will
West
actually
Virginia.
pretty commonly have tripinnately compound leaves. All right, they can get very, very large. I think we'll move over here to this other one to protect my personal safety.
We're making fishing poles now.
Who knows what we're into. All right. So coffee tree again, it grows. It's pretty. It's not common. All right. It's not exceptionally rare, but it's not common. It is commonly planted as an ornamental. Right here's like 3 of them. Boom, boom, boom. Right here at Larenim. All right. Pretty commonly. In which they are legumes. They get short, stout bean pods on them. That's a seed on a legume. It's a short, stout legume is what it's called. Looks
None of these have
like a
them?
bean pod. I don't see any on
I
these.
don't
No. Well, I see one maybe up there.
Is that only a female?
I don't think they're dioecious. They shouldn't be. Legumes usually aren't dioecious or monoecious. Usually they're monoecious. So, but you can find these. Again, they can get leaves that can be 4 foot long because they're tripinnately compound. You can see bipinnately ones up there. I don't know if there's any tripinnately ones on this one or not, but they can be very, very large leaves. This is always one that's kind of cool just because it's not something you see very often, but it's sort of easy to remember and sort of cool to look at. So, Kentucky coffee tree, Gymnocladus dioicus in the Caesalpinaceae. This is a native species to West Virginia. And if you'll notice, we talked about this when we talked about our magnolias. It's another species of magnolia. But if you look, it's got this auriculate base. And you see where these things drop down below the main base of the leaf. We made auriculate base. This is Fraser magnolia. Magnolia fraseri. All right, Magnolia fraseri. This is the one I was telling you about that we find pretty commonly at high elevations, but a lot of times it's regarded as a weed. All right, really easy to identify because you've got those auriculate bases, and you've also got these pretty large purple buds. All right. Remember, 2 scales on the magnolia buds. They're pretty large purple buds. All right. So those are pretty same, very similar type fruit that we looked at with our other magnolias, but this one has the auriculate base and the big purple buds. All right. Questions on Fraser magnolia?
Wait, what do you mean
Magnolia.
about the articulate? Like
Auriculate.
Auriculate.
The base. See how the base goes? They attach here, but they come down.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Questions on Fraser magnolia? All right. While we got the camera running, let's run right over here. Stretch is already checking out this next one for us. What is that, Stretch?
Bald piper.
Ah, amazing how much better y'all do on these whenever they have labels on them.
Yeah.
All right. This is another gymnosperm. This is also deciduous. All right, this is deciduous gymnosperm, bald cypress. Here before long, This thing will start to turn a rich golden brown, and then all the leaves will fall off of it. But it
These
is
are really
deciduous.
soft, ain't they?
Yeah, they're very, very soft. The needles are a little different than anything else we looked at. Typically, this is a southern species. All right, this is a southern bottomland species. You see those images and pictures and films in the swamps with the gators and guys duck hunting and stuff. And you see these great big trees with the big old buttress trunks. Most of the time, that's what they are. They're just a bald cypress. Yes, Taxodium distichum. All right. The other thing with these is because they live in water, they have to come up with a way to be able to breathe.
Gills.
What's that?
They got gills.
They don't have gills. Well, they don't always live in water. All right.
They have roots.
Cypress trees have knees.
Actually,
Technically, they are pneumatophores. Pneumatophores. Pneumatophores, but everybody calls them cypress knees. So you'll have the tree that grows there, maybe a great big buttress stump, and then off to the side of it, you'll see this piece of root that just sort of sticks up out of the water all over the place. That's for gas exchange. Respiration takes place in the roots. When the roots are inundated with water and can't exchange gas, they had to have a way to do that. That's how bald cypress is able to live in standing water, is with their cypress knees. All right. Taxodium distichum. Taxodiaceae family. These also get, the fruit on these is a cone-like, but it's more circular, it's more globose. All right, and the scales on it, to me, look like big scales on a soccer ball. It's kind of what it reminds you of. All right, so it's circular, but it's got scales on it, and they kind of remind you of scales on a soccer ball. All right. Planted as an ornamental, we can find there used to be one of these right over the hill from the college. All right, but they will grow here, but they don't do very well. They're better suited to the south. But there is a little plantation of these in the one farm woodlot in Morgantown. They plant them along a stream, and they've done pretty well. They even got knees and everything popping up with them. So they've done pretty well there. All right. Questions about bald cypress? All right, this is the next new one we're going to talk about. Anybody know what this is?
An oak.
All right, it's an oak.
Red oak.
All right, is it red oak? Remember, what are we looking for between red oaks and white oaks?
I want to say it's I think it's a white oak.
All right, remember we talked about these. Remember, red oaks have those bristly tipped leaves. That's not a very good one. Red oaks have those bristly tipped leaves. Anybody see bristle tips on these? No. This is a white oak. All right, this is a white. This is a member of the general white. It's not white oak itself. No, this is bur oak. All right, this is bur oak.
Why is it bur oak?
Well, I'm going to tell you if you want to listen.
I am listening, Jeff.
You're a little close for the camera.
I was scared.
All right, bur oak. When you look at bur oak, typically bur oak has two pretty deep lobes right near the top. Okay. All right, but then the top part of it's kind of club shaped. So you'll have lobes from here down, two deep ones, and the top above the lobe tends to be club shaped. Now, on this one you can see there's some that don't particularly have that. They're in the shades, they're not all that easy to see, but typically that's what we look for. It's also white, it's also lighter colored and fuzzy on the back. It's pubescent on the back. All right. The scientific name for this is Quercus macrocarpa. Macrocarpa. What's macrocarpa mean?
Big carpals.
Big. What's carpals referred to?
Lobes?
No. Seeds. All right. You may be the first class I've had in the last couple of years that didn't automatically assume that macrocarpa meant big nuts. All right.
Big nuts.
But that's kind of what it means. This thing has large acorns. Right? And it gets the name bur oak because when you look at the cap, remember white oak, the cells or the scales on top of the cap are kind of thick and knobby. But on bur oak, they also are kind of burrish around the base of the cap.
I got one that's tore up.
So there's this ring of burr looking thing around the cap on bur oak. All right. It is a member of the white oak family. The bark looks a lot like white oak, but this is also the other one I mentioned. We talked about sweet gum that has the wings on the twigs. All right, so when you look, you can see up back here on some of these twigs, you can see the wings on them. You can see those corky ridges on those twigs.
Man, something like this tree up, Jeff.
Well, it's also getting over top by that walnut back here, so this one's not doing too well.
This thing ain't digging.
But this counts a rotted leaf or a leaf post.
That's pretty rotted.
Dang. It's in there.
No, that's a
I ain't know you started.
All right, what's this? What's it look like?
Autumn olive.
It does look a little bit like autumn olive. Any other guesses?
Black olive.
Okay, so somebody snuck around the backside and looked at the thing and cheated. This is actually an oak. I mean, this is actually an oak, and if you look at these, some of these leaves look pretty rough, but if you look, you can still see clustered buds. The buds are very small, but they're in at the end, and if you look at the tip of the leaf, you can see that little bristle tip we talked about the red oaks. We'll classify this as one of the red oaks, but this is willow oak. The leaves look kind of like a willow. Very short petiole, long, linear, light on the back side. All right, this is Quercus phellos, Phellos, Quercus phellos,
What's the
Fagaceae family. What's that?
All right, never mind.
It's a Fagaceae family. This is an oak that's typically we find further south, but it will survive here. It's commonly planted as an ornamental. There's one in downtown Romney that is just mammoth. Like we're talking 3 to 4 foot across the stump. I mean, it's huge.
Tag on. Is it very tall though?
Yeah, it's pretty tall. It's open grown, so it's not as tall as maybe as what it could be, but there's quite a few of these planted around Kaiser as well. If you'll see just down from Burger King on the same side of the road there as Burger King, there's a yard there that's got 3 or 4 of them. They're pretty good size. They're not near as big as the one in Romney, but they're pretty good size as well. So you see them commonly planted. It's an oak. It's just a lot of the features are small. The leaves aren't very big. The acorns are pretty small. The buds are pretty small. Fairly smooth bark, but still, it's an oak. It's kind of in that red oak group and looks very similar to that. Takes the acorns 2 years to mature, just like any other red oak. So we'll see this. Occasionally you'll see it more commonly planted, but it could potentially escape. Right. This is our next new one. This is another species of magnolia. We can find this one in the forest, but since we're here, we'll kind of take a look at it. It has a pretty good example. We've looked at the other ones, it fits in pretty well. But this is Magnolia acuminata, or acuminata. This is cucumber tree. This is our most common native magnolia. Pretty straightforward shaped leaf, no funky base or anything like that. That's a pretty standard leaf. The fruit, very similar to what we've looked at before with our other magnolias. But with this one, the buds, again, are the thing that we can use for identification. And this thing has silvery buds. All right, they're blunt silvery buds. And you can kind of see they're sort of hairy. This one here is now missing because Jacob tore it off.
Oh, sorry, I was just...
So we can kind of look at this one down here now, but you can sort of see, even when these things are in the canopy, with no leaves on them, those buds show up enough that you can see those pretty easily.
I don't know if I remember right, like on the fruit, I remember like in a portion in high school, wasn't it like looks like a Skittle? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah, well, yeah, the fruit inside of the thing, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like Skittles whole
Yep.
packed in there.
Yep. All right, when they're open. So the bark on this is brownish gray. It's a little more flaky, but it looks a lot like yellow poplar bark and can be confused. Yellow poplar, this, and basswood are the ones that can kind of be confused. This one tends to have more brown in it than the other ones, in my opinion.
That's why the tree.
Man, basswood's leaves don't get that big though, do they?
What's that?
Basswood leaves ain't bark
It does look
wise.
like
Bark-wise. Bark-wise, yeah. I think there's more brown in it than what there is in poplar, though, honestly, in most of them. So, but we use this a lot like with poplar. We can see those. Questions on cucumber? Magnolia acuminata in the Magnoliaceae family.
This is a quiz?
Here's our no, this is our next new one. This is not a quiz, this is a new one.
Okay.
Anybody know what this is? Ooh, boy, look at that thing. He was eating good, too.
I mean, I didn't mean to knock him off. Should I put him back?
What is that?
Is it some kind of
Will he bite me?
Nope. Same type of thing we just looked at. If you look, you've got clustered buds. If you look at the leaves, you've got another little bristle tip on this thing. This is another variety. This is another thing we'll generally loosely call red oak. This is shingle oak.
Shingle oak.
Quercus.
We already learned this one.
Quercus imbricaria. Where did I give you shingle oak at
The very
before?
first day.
No. Are the leaves
No.
always just like crumbling?
Yeah.
No, that was Norway maple.
Quercus imbricaria. We talked, no, I know where you got this from. We talked about the hybrid. We talked about the hybrid between shingle and red oak that we looked at there below the horse arena. That's where you've heard shingle oak before, but we didn't actually look at shingle oak. So this is shingle oak. Quercus imbricaria. All right, imbricaria, imbricate means layered like shingles.
Those things are not scary.
All right, so we talk about buds having imbricate scales. That means they're layered, kind of like shingles.
Yeah.
That's why that's where imbricaria comes from. This was shingle oak.
That's fine.
All right, very, it doesn't look much like an oak, but you can see these solitary leaves, no lobes, single bristle tip. Again, the acorns are fairly small, but it is an oak. All right, this is one of the ones I mentioned this morning where things don't prune very well. This is one of the ones that doesn't prune very well at all. You can find this native in the wild, and we will at some point, but they are not pruned very well at all. They are pretty gnarly looking.
I like that.
All right, they can be pretty big. What's that? Yep, that's the buds. See how they're clustered together?
Yeah.
Yep. They're small compared to a lot of our oaks, but bigger than what we just looked at with the willow oak.
Hey Jeff, what are these things?
Hold on, let me see. Those are aphids. Those are the same things they were looking at before. Those are some types of aphids or tree hoppers or something. I don't know my insects very well, but
They run if you sit there too long.
They look like little
but they're bugs. Yeah, they're little bugs of some kind. All right. Questions on shingle oak?
We'll poke him with.
This is the new one. What is this?
It's the type of oak, ain't it?
No.
What type of ash?
Is it a type of magnolia?
We've looked at the imported variety of this. We have not looked at the native variety. This is red mulberry. All right, this is red mulberry. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference between the exotic mulberry that's here that's now become naturalized, the white mulberry, and this one. These leaves are quite a bit larger. They're dull, they're not lustrous. All right, we can still see the polymorphic leaf shape, so I don't see it much on this tree. But this is red mulberry, Morus rubra, in the Moraceae family. All right, this is the native species.
I thought mulberry was smaller than this.
Well, the white mulberry does have smaller leaves than this. They're white, they're smaller and lustrous. These are very large and a lot lustrous. They're actually kind of pubescent. But you still see this, but the white mulberry is probably more common.
Freaking bug.
All right. Questions about red mulberry, Morus rubra. All right, what is this one?
Eastern red cedar.
All right, this is eastern red cedar or juniper. All right, we
Will you
have
take
a lot of
this?
this.
Take that one, what's that?
Yeah,
What's
this
the
is Juniperus virginiana.
Oh,
I think it's Virginiana. Juniperus virginiana
That'll be easier.
in Cupressaceae family.
That not too much.
This one's very common here in the eastern panhandle and really throughout the area. Very common on growing up pioneer areas, regrowing pastures, things of that nature. We see this a lot. Owl-shaped leaves. Right, the first year these things tend to be fairly smooth, and as they get older, they tend to get more sharp, more awl-shaped, and quite sharp and spiny. All right, what's the fruit on juniper?
Berries.
All right, it's not a berry. Remember, they're naked seeds, but they do have a fleshy.
Gymnosperm.
It's a gymnosperm. They do have a fleshy, kind of purple-looking seed when they get ready.
Man,
In many cases, you'll see these things. They hang for and they look very purple. They are consumed by wildlife. All right, so we see these pretty commonly. What do we use cedar for? Go ahead. What's that?
I can't remember what they use juniper berries for. I can't remember.
Yeah, there is but I can't remember what it is either.
Juniper.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Just assume that if you don't know, they do.
Yeah, cedar furniture. It's really easy to work with. It's also very aromatic. Everybody knows what cedar smells like, right?
Yeah.
Where do we use that to our advantage? And this is one of those things that's kind of disappeared a
Cedar
little bit.
shavings.
The cedar shavings, yeah, what else? What's that, Logan?
I said you count as cedar, is the name of it.
Yeah, it's juniper, red cedar, eastern red cedar. Does anybody's parents or grandparents have a cedar chest in their bedroom, like at the foot of the bed, or a cedar lined closet? All right, does anybody know why they do that?
Is it aromatic?
It's aromatic, but there's a particular reason why.
Keep the mold away.
Keep bugs
Actually,
away.
It's actually bugs.
Just like cedar shavings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with clothes, the reason it's within clothing, like a chest or lined in a closet, is because wool, when a lot of clothes were made out of wool, there were several insects that would actually come in and eat the wool. So you'd go to get a sweater or something out of the closet, and it'd have holes in it where these bugs would actually eat it. You put it in a cedar chest, the cedar kept the bugs away from it. So we don't make a whole lot of clothing out of wool anymore, but that's what you have a cedar chest or cedar closet for.
How do we use it to keep the bugs away right now?
Well, I don't know if you smear it around, you could work or not.
Oh.
Everybody know what I didn't pick a very good one for this, but everybody see what this is? All right, this is a member of the white oak group, but this is not white oak itself. Anybody want to guess what it is? This is post oak.
Is that
Yeah, this is Quercus stellata, S-T-E-L-L-A-T-A. Stellata. Stellate means star-shaped. If you get one of these leaves in your field, there's actually hairs on the back of it. If you look at that with a microscope, those hairs are star-shaped. All right, they're stellate hairs. That's where Quercus stellata comes from. What do you think they use post oak for?
Post.
Post. All right, post oak takes on a wide variety of spots in the ecosystem. It'll grow to a decently well-formed tree, kind of like these. I'm sure there's a couple others here. Or it can end up as a very scrubby, shrubby-looking thing that does look like much. But what we can look at in terms of the ID, especially with the leaves, we talked about bur oak having the two deep lobes and then having the club shape. With post oak, it has usually a pretty distinct cross shape. So you can see we've got the cross, we got the two deep lobes, everything below it's smaller, everything above it's smaller, and we kind of got this cross shape. So post oak is kind of what you're looking for on the leaves of it. Bark-wise, it looks very much like a white oak, a little more linear in terms of the way the furrows are broken up, and it doesn't prune exceptionally well.
Now, when the leaves fall, how are we gonna?
Look at the bark. Look at the bark. Much more linear, much more blocky.
This white oak, that's the only way I know. I rub it and it comes off.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Man, it's gonna be confusing.
Quercus stellata.
That's all
Listen to white oak, I'll miss it every time.
Yeah. I'll try to make them fairly obvious. All right, what's this one?
White oak.
Ah,
No, that's oak.
look at the leaves on this thing. Does that look like white oak? No. It does not have bristle
It's
tips.
pin oak.
One of those.
This is, Conlon said it there a minute ago. This is chinkapin oak. Chestnut oak looking leaves, white oak looking bark. It's chinkapin.
No,
All right, chinkapin tends to favor limestone type soils, but it's still common. We can find a variety of places, and you can see this when you were standing right here along the road. It's pretty easy for us to see.
Are we going to have any more test trees today?
No, no more test trees today. Again, the bark, this one peels really easy, but it still looks a lot like white oak, looks a lot like that post oak. But now we've looked at 4 different members of the white oak genus. The white oak.
I'm checking all this in.
We haven't looked at white oak yet.
Hell no.
Questions on chinkapin oak?
you hold this down forever.